Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and I saw a lot of you guys actually get super excited about the Outlaw Rogue pre-patch video that I made. A lot of you guys found the information very useful, and what a lot of you guys asked for is specific information for Subtlety and Assassination, so you guys can go enjoy the specializations, whether it is PvE or PvP. So, just like the other video, because I don't want to give one specialization or the other favoritism, I'm gonna do exactly the same format for Assassination this time, and the next video probably will end up being Subtlety, unless another idea creeps into my head. So in this video I want to go over everything that you need for Assassination in order to get started while you are at level 110 in the pre-patch for BFA. Assassination has had some cool changes, and the spec feels really good to play. It feels a little bit slower generally, no matter if you're PvP or PvE, but overall very powerful, very strong, and still a great spec. It looks like it's going to be probably one of the better specializations in the future of the expansion, but it should also be noted that we are not at max level. The spec does feel a little bit different at max level, not as crazy as Outlaw or Subtlety, but it does still feel different and play a little bit differently at max level. And I will make a guide update for 120, but hopefully I'll have the timestamps on the screen. I want to cover the PvE part and PvP part of this specialization in today's video. So follow the timestamps if you want to see any of specific parts. Alrighty, you're an Assassination Rogue trying to get into some PvE, trying to get into some dungeons, raids before maybe the expansion is over, maybe you're farming mounts or whatnot, or just trying to hang out with some buds. What do you want to play in terms of your build? So, off the bat, Assassination has a lot of good and a lot of freedom in terms of, I guess, the talents that you can pick. A lot of the talents are good in terms of, you know, they're very close to each other on DPS, and the way you want to use them, it's more or less up to you, which I absolutely love, depending on which row though. The first row is almost a free pick for you. A lot of people side with Blindside because it adds a little bit extra stab to their rotation. This is basically a dispatch from back in the day, back in like Warlords of Draenor days. If you remember the ability of dispatch, they brought it back as a talent called the Blindside. They gave dispatch name to Outlaw Rogue as their finisher. I don't understand why they made all the different changes, but I guess they want to treat the ability as its own thing. So it works off of your mutilates. It has a chance on mutilate to be used, and this is basically your execute. So if you're somebody who wants to play into fights with a lot of execute mechanic, or let's say if your guild is having trouble through the end part of the fight, Blindside, so you could just stab the enemy to death, kind of like as an Assassination Rogue in the showers with a shank. Elaborate Planning and Master Poisoner are all great as well. Elaborate Planning is really good if you want to go for a haste heavy build, so you can maintain this basically throughout the whole time. Master Poisoner is a nice passive, but all these are very close to each other, so it's really up to you. At level 30, a lot of people recommend go Subterfuge, mostly because Garou deals decent damage, and it deals good damage whether you are, let's say, single target, or trying to hit multiple different people. Well, I would say if you have the shoulders, then Master Assassin you can kind of skip out and go Subterfuge. If you don't have the shoulders, well, you should probably buy them, because now you can actually spend a lot of your Awakening Essence to buy specific legendaries. But if you don't have those, playing with Master Assassin is fine, but for PvE, most people go Subterfuge. At level 45, Vigor Edge just ends up being the best option. Mark for Death is kind of an interesting option if targets are going to die, so you can like Mark for Death, envenom them, or if you can Mark for Death, put a Rupture on them. And so the Rupture will tick a couple times, kind of like when you have a side ad that comes out and then dies after a while. That might be worth, but most people just go Vigor, set it and forget it. At level 60, most people just go Cheat Death, so then you don't die to mechanics. Although, Leech and Poison is not terrible, but Leech and Poison comes into play for PvP more than PvE nowadays. Elusiveness is just not as good anymore. At level 75, most people say go Prey on the Weak, but this is really just your utility road. Choose whatever you want. It's really good in a Mythic Plus dungeon to get a cheap shot opener on an enemy, or a vanished cheap shot on a key target, and make him take 10% more damage from your whole party. Iron Wire is also really good to get that extra silence into it. And I can imagine Iron Wire Subterfuge, you get that triple silence that lasts on mobs that usually would, you know, cast a bunch of spells. So this one should be up to you, but most people say Prey on the Weak is pretty good for Mythic Pluses. At level 90, currently, Toxic Blade is the only viable option, because it works for single target AoE. It's just a good jab of damage, because you're kind of trying to focus your poisons on your playstyle. Venom Rush is a pretty good one, but it's mostly just a increase for pure single target. So if fights have pure single target, Venom Rush is fine. Exsanguinated is a very interesting one. So this is technically not a terrible talent. Most people say it actually has more damage and better results than Toxic Blade, but it's only really useful if there's a priority ad that used to die very quickly. So if you're trying to nuke something down, Exsanguinated is a better option, but in a boss fight, Toxic Blade ends up something you can kind of use through the long fight, and it works off of other abilities like Poison Bomb and Ion Venom. So if you have a boss fight that lasts for a while, Toxic Blade might be the best. If you have a key target that needs to be nuked ASAP, then Exsanguinated would be used for those extreme situations. At level 100, most people just say Poison Bomb because it offers that nature damage for single target and AoE. Although I've seen a couple different ideas behind Hidden Blades and Crimson Tempest. Hidden Blades is a cool one, but it stacks up the Phantom Knights after 40 seconds, and it's really good if you need, let's say, mass AoE for Az that have very, very little health, which actually works in some Mythic Plus dungeons. In terms of Crimson Tempest, I would say if you want flat out best AoE possible, it's actually the best AoE talent. If you want plain AoE damage on everybody, this deals so much DPS, but it doesn't have the same single target AoE component. So let's say if you go maybe into a Mythic Plus dungeon and there's heavy AoE, Crimson Tempest might be worth. But you also gotta consider, as an Assassination Rogue, you can also just do light cleave with Rupture and Garrote on multiple different targets. With Garrote being a 6-second cooldown, you can actually do a better light cleave, so you only use this if you need some really just heavy-ass AoE. In terms of legendaries, I've seen a lot of people running Insignia of the Revenhold, actually, and I've seen a lot of people run Mantle of the Master Assassin, but a lot of the legendaries are not terrible. Another decent one would be the Bracers. The Bracers are okay, but only work during AoE, they only work during execute phases. The reason why Insignia of Revenhold is good, especially with Blindside, is Blindside deals a good considerable physical damage. This works off of Blindside, so it's really nice. Also kind of adds into their cleave or light cleave capability. That's really what I've been seeing a lot of people run. There's not too many other options. I would think that the boots are decent too, but your Vendetta on a 2-minute cooldown is not that bad currently at 110. Maybe at 120, but you lose the boots by then. So those are the two legendaries I've seen a lot of people use. But I feel like there's a variety of different legendaries. Like if you want to go for AoE, the Cloak for Dreadlord's Deceit. If you want to combine that together with Hidden Blades for blasting AoE damage in the opener, you're more than welcome to. There's a lot more freedom, a lot more room, but feel free if you want to go hardcore to sim your character with different gear sets. Anyway, how to play Assassination. So the rotation for it is very, very simple. And what I really need to show you is the opener rather than the rotation. Because the opener, I feel like, if you played Assassination before, you will understand what the rotation is all about. So let's just go over the basics, I guess. You want to put up Garrote on your enemy, build column points up to 5 or 4, Rupture. Once you have your dots, just keep building column points at 4 or 5, feel free to invent them. And that's it. This spec is that easy. If you get procs for Blindside, feel free to use procs for Blindside. When your Garrote is about 3 seconds, feel free to refresh it then. And I think Rupture is about 6 seconds? I could be wrong on that one. And that's it. And just keep building column points as soon as you can. Make sure your bleeds don't fall off. If you can't time them like at the perfect time second, just make sure they don't fall off. And then you want to throw in your Toxic Blade for more damage, and you got all the abilities, and if it crits, then it's all good. That's really it. It's specialization is very simple. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, and of course, if you want to AoE, you would use Phantom Knives. If it's a light cleave, feel free to, multi-dot people. Okay, now that the basics is out of the way for everybody who is new to Assassination to begin with, now we need to talk a bit about the opener. The opener is what you need to get right. You need to nail this in order to have a really strong start for your damage. So you'll be running exactly the same build, right? And let's say if you want to go extra heavy, Flask with Summon Demon, Defiled Augment Ruin, and then we're going to be using a Prolonged Power Potion for our opener. So the opener is very, very simple. You pop a potion, Garrote, Mutilate, Rupture, Vendetta, because it's on GTD, Mutilate, Toxic Blade, Vanish in Venom, Mutilate in Venom, get a Garrote for Subterfuge extra damage afterwards. And now you get some massive, don't worry about the extra damage on the side, massive bursts going on. I don't think my numbers got reset though. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my numbers didn't get reset though. But you got some massive DPS. Actually, no, they are reset. It's just I'm hitting this target because it's lower health, so it's taking more damage, yeah. I have a little bit of light cleave with Poison Bomb, so it's going to skew the results. But that would generally give you a lot of damage. So, that's basically the way you play Specialization for Assass. In terms of stats, this is one thing I want to talk about. Haste now works off of your dots, poisons, and bleeds. More haste means more mutilates, means more blindsides. More mutilates, blindsides, more envenom, flat damage, more uses for your insignia. Then you want to go crit. Crit means more envenoms, always having column points for Rupture, always having Garrote up. More crits means more damage. That's what I've seen a lot of people run. Mastery is a pretty good stat too, but now you have haste that's just as competitive. You have critical strike that's been always competitive. Versatility is kind of just taking a seat back, but mastery, I feel like nobody's really going to stack versatility unless our mutilates and physical damage becomes the best damage ever. Mastery is there for our bleeds and poisons. Stacking that, of course, will be good, but also giving more ticks within your dots is also just as good because it gives you back energy. More ticks means more damage, so it accomplishes more than one purpose overall. So that's what I ended up stacking. I feel like whatever gear you had prior would be fine, but if you had some haste heavy gear, some crit heavy gear, maybe if you were playing Outlaw slicing this build, then that actually works too. And that's what I think is exciting about this spec. What is probably the most exciting thing about all three specs of Rogue, the Assassination is the most exciting one on stats alone, because there's so much freedom to how you can craft yourself. And it seems like there's more than one way of going about it if you want for gear and you want for better damage. Now that I have my burst available again, I just want to showcase my burst on the train dummy, and I'm hoping that I don't trigger poison bomb next to this guy. I'm gonna stand a good distance away. I'm gonna stand here. Hopefully it won't actually hit it. Hopefully it'll form like around me, but it might hit him in the end. So actually I also want to turn it because Insignia. Let's give it a go. Garrote, mutilate. Oh, I forgot that. Alrighty. Vendetta, vanish in venom, mutilate in venom. Garrote in there. So you're doing a fair chunk of damage. Okay, that trinket is now skewing everything. My trinkets now. Overall, the spec does really good damage. I think that some of the advantages of the specialization are, but I have to say, strong single target damage, light cleave, but when it comes to pure AoE, it's pretty good for burst AoE and short term. It's okay. But it's fairly decent when it comes to just constant AoE, always phantomizing things, always letting the dots kind of tick out. Overall, it's a pretty balanced specialization. Kind of like how Outlaw has a high advantage in terms of AoE, this one has a pretty decent advantage in cleave and not bursty AoE. But overall, it feels really good. Don't look at the numbers here, but just you can kind of see the playstyle. You're just basically managing your dots. You're making sure things don't fall off. Trying to make sure everybody's getting hit with your fans, which will give you poisons up. And whenever you can, I guess you can go road. And as you have all those dots around, you could always phantom knives, always having the energy capped. As you can see, I can't run out of my energy. So of course you'll probably, like in a cleave situation, you'll probably want at least a couple targets, maybe 3 targets, hit up with bleeds, so you're not over capping on your energy. Because now I'm over capping on my energy, I don't need that many bleeds. I could probably just do this, and what I can do here is just envenom from there on. Just AoE and then envenom for more damage. Envenom is going to give me the envenom, so more likely to get poison applications. And there we go. Now I'm maximizing my damage. So it's a little things like that. Overall, it's great specialization. Overall, Assass is a great specialization when it comes to single target and a little bit of AoE cleave. I feel like it's forming more of its place, and I love the mastery change. So it actually impacts bleeds and poisons, really making us feel like a dot-heavy specialization finally. Because there have been some moments where it felt like we were all about, you know, just applying poisons, just, you know, auto-attack rogue instead of a dot-heavy. But now it feels like dots are playing a major part in our life. And that's pretty awesome about Assass. Alright, now let's talk about PvP, about Assassination. Stat-wise, I would have to say the same thing. It doesn't really matter what stats you stack. Let me give you an example on 120 servers. And that one's going to be a bit of a stretch because 120 and 110 are going to be different ideas. I geared my Outlaw Rogue gear with 20% crit, 20% haste, and whatever stats from there. And I went with exactly the same stats, and Assassination did fine. Having crit means you generate more common points. Haste, your dot ticks are giving me more energy, and they're ticking faster. That means you're doing more damage. It almost feels like there's no bad stats. So just take whatever stats you have. I would avoid versatility, if anything. Because versatility buffs all damage and physical. I guess if you want extra physical damage, you can, but majority of your damage will be coming from envenoms, which is poison, your bleeds, which is rupture, especially when you're cleaving, which is rupture, toxic blade, which is pure nature. The only thing that helps out is blindside. But unless you go blindside heavy, I would just avoid versatility on all fronts. Alright, let's talk a bit about the talents. So I feel like Assassination PvP is a little bit more open when it comes to what playstyles you want. Honestly, my favorite is Master Poisoner. It's kind of boring, it's kind of vanilla. It just increases the potency of my dots, of my poisons, of my weapon poisons. But there are also non-damaging effects, like the crippling poison, slightly slower. When you're running with leech and poison, slightly extra leech. I actually appreciate it, and I feel like it's simple. Although I do like Blindside. I like the extra like abilities that I get to press. But when I'm kind of trying to focus on gameplay and just the most amount of damage possible, I generally stick to Master Poisoner. At level 30 row, honestly, Master Assassin is what I love. I know you're gonna say Subterfuge gives you the opener, cheap shot, go road multiple enemies. That is probably gonna be the best if you're going for, let's say, arenas. But if you're just having some fun with the BGs, Master Assassin is awesome. I mean, that is being said, at 120 in particular, you're not going to have the Shoulder Legendary. If you have Shoulder Legendary out in the world PvP, I think this one might be nerfed by a little, but I could be wrong. But if you want to stack as much credit as you can from your gear, and go Master Assassin, 50% more while you are in stealth. Actually, let me see what that gives me. Okay, and if I remove that, 39, and while in stealth, you get 50% more. So it'll be about, what, 40%, almost 90%? So almost a guarantee, yeah? It's pretty awesome in terms of the actual ability itself. And what I like about it is the burst amplification that it does. If you played back in WoD for Assassination when you had the double crit, like a, it was a Mark for Death Vendetta DFA into a Vanish in Venom type of burst. Like all of it was like 100% critical strike, back-to-back crits. Like it was basically Venom and Venom, back-to-back. And you would run Night Stalker. That's basically what it gives me back the feeling of. So Assassination actually has some upfront bursts when you want to use it. And what's great is it doesn't work with stacks. You don't have to manage anything. It's just kind of like you pop cooldowns, bam, burst. There you go. So that's been awesome. But Subterfuge is going to end up being pretty good. But I test out Master Assassin. I'll showcase you guys the bursts they're being using on 120 servers. Level 45 Vigor or Mark for Death. If you want to play bursty, Mark for Death is so much fun. And again, this is like another part of Assassin where in PvP it feels like there's more freedom. I like Mark for Death. Vigor is really close if you want to go for sustained damage. But if you like that burst, Mark for Death is amazing. 30-second cooldown on top of it makes it better. At level 60, Leech Poison ends up being the best. I shit talked about this talent so many times in previous expansion. I was like, this is such a bad talent. And now we're in BFA and it's one of the best for PvP. Because Sheet Death, you're going to proc it once in a blue moon. Leech and Poison gives you extra heal for your Crimson Vial, extra damage, or extra healing from the damage deal, especially if you could spread it to multiple people. Elysium is just not good with Feint having a 15-second cooldown, just not worth. Level 75, I love Iron Wire. Prey on the Weak is also pretty cool. Internal Blending is great. I like that extra 6-second silence for Garrote. Also, enemy silences by Garrote deal 50% damage to me in the opener. So if I'm PvPing and, you know, I'm running Master Assassin, I can only have one ability that I can choose to use. I'll probably open up with a Garrote. So Garrote will silence the enemy, put my bleed up, and the enemies are going to deal less damage to me, so I can get my opener without really feeling like, you know, somebody can just stun me, blow me up, because they're dealing 50% less damage to me. I'm more likely going to survive. At level 90, I see a lot of people going Toxic Blade just because it's so easy to use, and it's pretty great when it comes to burst. At level 100, Poison Bomb, if it procs, ooh, is a good damage. And I feel like most people end up running Poison Bomb. If you're running like RBGs or something, I think Hidden Blades or even Crimson Tempest could be amazing for spread AoE if you're running like some kind of a team melt composition. But Poison Bomb is really strong. In terms of your honor talents, I feel like one that we love is Deadly Brew, although it's not quite as potent as it used to be. It's only 18% healing reduction decrease. But I wonder if it actually works with Master Poisoner. I never actually tried it. Hold on. Oh wait, I don't have War Mode on, so I can't even test. But I wonder if it works. I never tested it together. Another one like your Skipping Venom, I feel like it's pretty good. If you want to go ham poison, System Shock is pretty good too. I like maneuverability though. I feel that having only one Shadow Step leaves you out in the open. And with Outlaw, you can grapple hook 40 yards away. You can get out of a bad situation in a moment. Subtlety, you have 2 Shadow Steps, so it gives you a bit more mobility. This spec feels like it kind of loses a bit of mobility because it just doesn't have anything like the other specs do. So sometimes I find myself running maneuverability, but also you can run from death from above if you want to stay more aggro. I do like maneuverability and the movement suppression that it gives me in the opener. Like, when somebody's trying to slow me and I need to run away, I appreciate it, but System Shock is also pretty decent. If you want to go like heavy dot build, go Creeping Venom, Mind Numbing, Deadly Brew, Master Poisoner. It's just, I love the aesthetic of it. Alrighty, so same thing about Assassination. You maintain your dots, you maintain your Garrote, you know, you build up the common points, you maintain your Rupture. That's it, that's the playstyle. You're PvPing as an Assassination Rogue. Can I blind this target? No, I can't. I was hoping to blind it to remove the dots. So let's talk a bit about the burst. How to get that big one shot. So we're going to be combining a couple of different abilities like Master Assassin. We want to have full common points when we're going ham with Master Assassin. We want to get basically Envenom into Mark for Death, Envenom back to back. while Toxic Blade is present and Vendetta is present. And if you want to go for full burst, Prayer in the Wake is also pretty good. So you want to get a stun somewhere at one point or another. And everything. Normal opener is going to be, in this type of setup, Garrote into a Toxic Blade. You got a bunch of combo points because you had more chance to crit. Then Vendetta, Vanish, Cheap Shot, Marfadeth. There we go. And I noticed there on this train dummy, I can't Cheap Shot it, so I really didn't get the combo points I wanted to. But the idea is you get Garrote, 1 combo point, Toxic Blade, if you gets lucky, 2 combo points, Vendetta, you know, you set up your damage buff, Vanish, Cheap Shot, fill up the rest of the combo points between 4 and 5. Envenom for 4 combo points while you have the crit buff. Marfadeth Envenom for a second Envenom. While Toxic Blade is running, while Vendetta is running. Because Envenom on its own actually deals, okay, if we avoid Poison Bomb damage, and Envenom on its own actually deals a good chunk of damage. You see my Garrote is taking, my Deadly Poison, bam. Critical hit from Envenom ended up being 6.9k. Basically 7k. And we have how much health? 32k? So 6.7 times 2 is like, what, 14? I mean, it's not some kind of insane, like, half your health burst. Well, it's pretty close, actually. But it gives Assassination a little more oomph to your damage. And then the rest of the time as a playstyle, you're more than welcome to just dot everybody with Garrote. Or if you're not feeling, you know, comfortable in the opener, feel free to switch back to Subterfuge. If you feel like you get an opened on, just destroyed by people in the opener, feel free to go to Iron Wire. All those are fine to play. All those are completely fine to play. So, it really gives you options. It depends what you want to play. So, that's basically the way you play Assassination. The basic playstyle. It's a lot more effective and a lot more fun on the 120 servers where we get all the Azeroth bonuses. And there's one Azeroth bonus where you can sink in a bunch of damage into your Envenom and make it last longer. So you're getting those back-to-back Envenoms that are just continued damage afterwards, and it's just super fun. Overall, Assassination feels pretty good. I mean, it's one of the specializations, you know how rogues normally are. Specializations are all about dipping into stealth and staying in stealth. Assassination is all about getting that opener like a Subtlety Rogue, but sometimes it feels like even if you're outside of stealth for a long time, you know, when you're not Subtlety quite, you're outside of stealth just bleeding people up, it feels pretty natural and feels pretty good. And what allows you to do it is to maintain with Leech and Poison as that extra heal for you. Overall, I feel like it's a great change to the specialization. I feel like what they've done for the spec has been awesome. Overall, Assassination is great to play, and I'm hoping you guys will end up trying it out, at least at one point or another. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this video gives you enough information in order to get started as an Assassination Rogue. It feels that Assassination has a lot of freedom between stats, which is awesome. The change to Mastery gives you a lot more playstyles, which is great. And I feel like for PvP and PvE, while the specialization didn't really change that much, the little things that Blizzard did change still feel fairly fresh and fairly exciting. Which is why I was actually... I think right now Assassination would be the second favorite specialization out of the 3 for all rogues. It's very close to compete with Subtlety, as Subtlety does really well at 120, but at 110 I need to take a look at Subtlety closely to examine it. But so far, if I wasn't playing Outlaw, I would definitely be maining Assassination, probably for the whole expansion. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Again, hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. And I'll see all of you probably in the next video where I'll be covering Assassination, or Subtlety. I'll be covering Subtlety. I'll see you guys next time.